So by now, we know that when choosing stock imagery or taking photos for our composites, we need to make sure that they have a similar perspective and the type of light is the same. The last thing that we need to look for is the direction of light. The direction of light of all elements in the composite needs to match. For instance, you cannot have the light of your background image coming from the left and the light of the objects coming from the right. When we look at this photo we've used in the tryout, we can observe that the light is coming through the archways on the right. Even the reflections on the floor can help us determine this. They are more noticeable on the right than the left side. When choosing the photo of the woman, I needed to make sure that the direction of the light was the same as the background. The main light for this photo is coming from the top right, which still makes it suitable for our composite because the arches in the building are pretty large, and the light can hit the woman from the top right as well. We do have a secondary light on the left, but that can be fixed later on. Earlier in the course, I mentioned that shadows on objects are hard to manipulate, and there are only a few times where you can. In this case, we can, as the shadows are soft, and the light is not so intense. So we can paint a bit using a brush and make the arm and face on the left a bit darker. I do this quite often in my work. This is much harder to do with images that have a hard light. Although there are artists who can do this decently. However, unless you're really good at digital painting, I would stay away, as achieving realistic results is quite challenging. Let's get back to our stock images. Here's the tiger on the left. Like the woman's photo, some light is coming from the left, but the most intense light is coming from the right. If we look at the face, we can see that the right side is slightly lighter than the left. From experience, I know that this photo was shot in a studio, using 2 softboxes, one on each side of the tiger. How do I know this? You can see it in the reflection in the eyes. If you use stock imagery and don't know much about studio photography, go on YouTube and watch videos about studio photography lighting. I like watching studio photo sessions as I'm always fascinated by how photographers use lights, reflectors, diffusers, and so on to light their subjects. The more you know about photography, the better. You don't need to become an expert, but knowing the basics will help you be more accurate and decisive and know when and how to cheat. Of course, if you're a photographer, you might know these things already, which is a huge plus. The next photo is the tiger on the floor. From the reflection in the eyes, I can tell that this was shot outdoors. When this was shot, the light was coming from the right. And we know this because the shadow is on the left side of the tiger's head. And last but not least, the tiger on the right. Looking at this photo, we can determine that light is coming from the left. And the shadows on the tiger's face and those behind her prove this. However, the lighting in our composite is from the right, and that's why we flipped the tiger's image during our tryout. Flipping it also worked better from a composition point of view. Let's recap. Perspective, type of light and direction of light are very important when choosing imagery. If one of these is not correct, your artwork will not look 100% realistic. The shadows of photos with soft light can sometimes be manipulated. However, this all depends on the intensity of the light. This is much harder to do with images that have hard light. Learn the basics of studio photography by watching YouTube videos. With this knowledge, you can be more decisive and also know when and how to cheat.